everybody. I'd like to do this presentation on my work with animals, and I feel like this class, the whole new thought, creative thought, philosophy and way of life has helped me actually step even deeper into what my passion is. The first thing that I'd like to share with you is the healing work that I've done on a whale named Derecha, and she was named that. That means right in Spanish, the right side. The reason she was named that is because she has colorations on her, colorations on her right side, or like growths that are normal. And anyway, she had birthed her calf very recently off the coast of Georgia, and then the calf, they were swimming together, and the calf got hit by a ship. And so, I mean, the calf was basically an infant, so very, very vulnerable. And I brought this in a few weeks ago, and this is what caught my eye that day when I was getting some pictures at Walgreens. And so this just felt like something I needed to put some energy into. And so when I got home, actually I think it was Monday night, after a class, it was like 11 or so, maybe a little after. And I did the first healing with the calf. And what I do when I'm working with an animal or a person is I tune into, I energetically muscle test, what is most needed here. And so for the calf, when I tuned into her and I got that she was a female, she had a large gash on her head, close to her jaw and lip. And she needed that to nurse. I mean, that's like 101 survival. And so the first issue that I cleared for her was head trauma. That's what came up the strongest. And the imprint, which is what I do after I do the clearing, was whole and healthy. And then I turned to the mother whale and I said, she's got to be frantic. And what came up for her was anguish about her calf. Understandable, right? I mean, the numbers have been going down, so they're, on the verge of extinction. And this was another reason that I said this is really important for me to work on. And then that was on the 10th, and then on the 15th, I checked in again, and I had to do head trauma again for the calf. Now, she was on the brink of life and death. And after the second healing, she was stronger and better, and the imprint that I did was healed. Then I also worked with the mother that night, and when I tuned into her, the issue that came up the strongest was concern about the future. So I cleared that, and then the imprint that I did for the mother was supported by source. Then on the 25th, I followed up, and the calf was doing better. She had made it over, she was on the fence of surviving or not from that original head wound. She had made it to the other side. She was doing okay. She was surviving. And when I tuned into her, what came up was residual pain from trauma. And so I cleared that. That felt really good. And then the imprint was feeling good and healthy. So they're pretty much, they're all set for now. Recently, another thing that I started doing last year, and this is one of the ways that my work in the world is developing, is and I never thought I could do this, but now I know that I can because I'm doing it. Last year I needed to let them know that boats are dangerous and that they need to keep their ear out for them and feel the vibration. They didn't realize that they're harmful. And so I let them know, and then in the last couple of weeks, I was talking with a friend of mine who told me that the axis of the Earth has tilted 5%, which is a lot. And this is why the whales have been getting hit more recently, like Direction, her calf, because they have continued to follow the same migratory lanes and the migratory patterns. And so my friend said, you have to let them know that, the Earth has tilted and they need to adjust accordingly. And I had done this with the Atlantic whales, and she said I needed to do it with all of them, Atlantic and Pacific. And so it's like the bar keeps being raised with my work, and I'm like, oh, but then I do it, and I'm like, I can do it, I can do this. And so I spoke to them all, and I want to do it again, because I just got that feeling that I need to do it again. And also with boating season starting in a month or so, I need to just reinforce that they really need to go the other way, go deep. When they hear motors coming, they need to be on the alert for that, because they have a lot of challenges in the ocean now. Between the lobster traps, the lines, they get caught in those, and in the boats, the ships, the pollution. Okay, so now I'm going to play the video, and I am narrating it, I'm speaking during it. I didn't take the video, it was a drone, so just for disclosure. And then I'll continue. This is just a couple of minutes, two minutes.
Hi, this is Ellie Pichette,
30 seconds.
and you're looking at a drone view of a town called Marshfield, which is located in Massachusetts, the next town over from where I live. I have been working on the whales in the ocean ever since they requested this for the last 6 to 8 weeks. Several weeks ago, these whales showed up, and they are some of the ones who benefited from the remote healing work I've been doing. I worked with the Atlantic whales as a collective group. Again, I do this remotely. I mostly do this with clients, but this is the work that I do in my free time. Larger causes. When I first started, the whales had 4 out of 5 of the whales had ingested plastics, metals, and other trash. That number, since I've been working with them, is down to 10% of the original group that had ingested these materials. I have been able to dissolve the materials that should not be within them. They are breathing better. They are feeling much better. As you can see, they're enjoying their home. I also have done cleanings on the ocean toxicity, which when I first started was at 65%, and now it's down to 30%. There is still more to do. Next, I will be working on the sea turtles when I finish my work with the whales and the ocean. If you feel so inclined to support my work, I'm looking for sponsors to make donations. It takes a lot of time and energy, but the results are happening. Please donate on my GoFundMe page. Thank you.
This was a small pot of whales that came to Marshfield. That's just the mouth of the whale. What was I going to say? Yeah, I really loved watching that, and they're such magnificent beings, and they hold the world records, just like the elephants do. You know, they're also magnificent beings. And I've worked with the elephants in Africa, but I'm not going to talk about that tonight. Let's see. All right, so I worked with, when I lived in North Carolina, I worked with the black bears, and I never go looking for these things. They come to me pretty much. And this is just this was my favorite bear, and I named her Mama Bear. She showed up at my water fountain one day, needing a drink. And can you see how she's full of mange? You can see like bare spots where she doesn't have fur, and very skinny, and very under the weather. Yeah. And we had a soul connection, and I started to work with her. And some of the issues that I cleared were grief from losing her cubs due to her malnutrition. She didn't have enough to sustain her cubs, so she was in a state of grief when she came to me. And I also cleared malnutrition and discouragement, a couple of other things when I worked with her. And then a few weeks later, she showed up again, and she was like a whole different bear. I had to keep checking, is this the same bear? I couldn't believe it, but this is her after work. Do you see the difference? The coat is shiny, and her whole disposition is uplifted. She's not down in the dumps anymore. So I actually threw her an apple, and she acted like a dog, you know, like I went like this, and then she went like this, and then I threw her an apple, and she plunked down like a dog would, with the apple between her front paws, and just was thrilled with it. Really enjoyed that apple. And then later I wished I had given her more, but it was always that I didn't want her to get dependent on me. But anyway, so this was Mama Bear, and the last thing that I'll end with is so I work mostly with people, but I work with animals on the side, and that's, as I mentioned, that's a real passion of mine, always has been, and I feel like I'm kind of stepping more into it. And in fact, I just organized my animals page on the website. And well, what I'd like to mention is that my work with animals is, where it's relevant for this class and for New Thought is that I know that we're all connected, and we always hear that, but like I really feel like we're all connected, including the animals. It's not just the humans, all the animals and all the humans. We really are one. And so when we help one, we help the whole, the greater good. Yeah. So So this was a dog who a client had me start to work with last week. Her name is Daisy, and she's 14, and she had a pretty flat affect. You know what I mean by that? She was just kind of there, always on the sofa. And I've done 2 healings with her so far. One was fear of the leash, you know, because she would always cower from the people who had her before. And then I did a second healing on her last week, and that was fear of people. And my client Ruth, who just turned 83, and I gifted her with a session on a Sunday because it was her birthday. And this is Ruth, and she sent me this yesterday of her and Daisy. Isn't she cute? So I got so excited because I can feel the dog is, she looks younger, her eyes are sparkling now, and her vibration is higher. I don't know if you can see it. So, you know, news like that, it just makes my day. And that made my day. So.
Sounds like you've had a good time.
My work is very fulfilling. And yes, I appreciate the opportunity to serve people and the animals, because we are all connected. We're all going to probably see each other on the other side of the veil, right? So let's make it count. So thank you.